more painful than you could ever imagine. Like it's just a baby kicking through your stomach. Like it's just,
right, right. But yeah, it's true though.
I have a joke, but the music started and I cannot tell it. So we'll just leave it for another time.
I suppose you could tell it. You just don't want to share it with the internet.
Absolutely not.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pixel Pints. I decided not to go with the We Are Live anymore because I just think it's pretentious anymore because you guys can hear the music now, so it doesn't even matter.
Right.
So, even though I just said it, so, I guess I ruined it.
Next time.
It's the next time for the next time,
Yeah.
So welcome to Pixel Pints. This is the only global gaming podcast where we talk about two great things, which is great beer and video games. I'm your host today, Mitch, from, well, right now it's dark, but usually it's really sunny here in California, in LA. So, but right now it's just dark because it's 12 in the morning. And I'm joined by my two distinguished colleagues. I have Burkoff who's Mr. Las Vegas. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Since we've got two of us here in the States and only one in a country that does Celsius, I'm going to say that it's 58 degrees.
Shit, you're right. We agreed upon this.
Yeah. Here in Vegas is 58. The wind has been blowing like crazy, as it often does here in Vegas, which is...
Is it quite windy there? I didn't know that.
It can get pretty windy here. It seems like a newer thing. I don't know. I don't remember as a kid being here. I don't remember it being so windy, but anyway, yeah, I'm doing good.
And our other distinguished guest, how the saying like April showers bring May flowers? It's Evan's rising sun gives me sunshine all day long in LA because he is the land of the rising sun, which is in Japan. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's making its way over to you. Good. Started spring vacation last Saturday, so I'm off till April 1st. And we start the whole year over. So I'm planning out what games I want to play. I'm chipping away at my Spyro 3 Platinum Trophy, and then I'll figure out something else. Resident Evil 7 is pretty high on that list. I have not played that yet, and I've had it for several years. But yeah, doing all right.
Maybe Evan should do like a short segment with his beer of Evan's games he played over his break of his list. Santa's naughty and nice list type thing. So, quick things. If you want to check us out, we are Pixel Pints. You can check us out on Twitter with Pixel_Pints. No, sorry, Pixel_Pints, correct?
Yeah, at Pixel_Pints.
And then it's Pixel Pints Pod on Instagram. And then you can also check us out on Pixel Pints on YouTube, where this will be archived. Also, it is archived on Twitch at twitch.tv/pixelpints. Final thing, it is on every podcast site you can find. So if you just look up Pixel Pints, you'll find us. Go ahead and subscribe and listen to us there. Thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. It helps out us for whatever we want to do in the future, because we could do more fun things if we get more people to like us. So who knows? Because we do have people that hate us. We know that for sure.
Fine. We can do a 24-hour drunk stream. Actually, that sounds like a terrible idea.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a horrible idea.
I love that.
It would be an 8-hour drunk stream followed just by watching us already falling asleep in our chairs.
what would
be great? You do like an 8-hour stream from one side of the country and then do another country 8-hour stream, and then you can smooth it out with another 8-hour stream. So then we cover, almost 24 hours.
Usually like a giant Bob 24-hour stream, right? You pass it on to the next group of people so that they can go to sleep. But for us, it'd be you pass it on to the next person so the person can sober up or fall.
I like it. All right, gentlemen.
And then by the time it comes back around,
all right, gentlemen, it is time for always beers. Now now it's just super late, and I'm super tired, and I think if I'm gonna have a beer, I'm gonna fall asleep in the middle of the podcast. So I decided to just grab a Red Bull instead, just to keep me awake. It's been a long day. So
What do you got?
what do you got,
Coconut?
Burkoff? I got coconut again. I had a different
Erebus
one.
Jones's favorite.
I did have another one, but I drank it already, so I felt bad. So I was gonna bring it. It was like a tropical. It's yellow. It's tropical. Is that flavor? So, but
kind of, yeah. I'm gonna see if I can switch my video here so that you guys can. Yeah, you can actually read it. Okay, so I got Black Butte Porter from Deschutes. I'm not sure if that's how you actually say the name of the brewery.
That's what I thought it was. I can get that here as well. I've had their I believe they have a stout, a really dark stout called the Abyss.
Obsidian stout.
Obsidian.
Yeah,
I'm mixing that with something else.
I had it one night when we were hanging out a couple of weeks ago. But
who does the Abyss? They might do the Abyss as well. I'll have to look into it. But have you had this one before?
Yeah, I have had this. It's pretty good. It's
it's really thick,
super dark. It's probably closer to a stout than a porter, but yeah, it's heavy with the caramelly, coffee, toffee flavors. The head's pretty light, but yeah, this is a decent beer. I enjoy it. It's I got a whole case, 4 different 6-packs for what was it, $27, I think, at the end of the day. And they were all heavy beers. So I got a porter, a couple of stouts, and a barrel aged beer. And so this is sort of leftover from that case.
If that's all you're drinking for the night, I don't know what's gonna happen the next day.
What will happen within the next hour when we're still doing this?
It's only 5.5, so it's
you've said that before,
heavy.
And then on an after show I've gained a long lecture about Hideo Kojima, but we might get to that later. So
nice segue.
Evan, what do you got?
So sorry, it's not going to look nice because I got the times wrong. I didn't know that we were actually streaming now, so I had to kind of put things together. I was just sitting on the couch playing Spyro and already drinking this beer, so it's been sitting for a little while. This is
Modern Times.
Black House.
Okay.
Black House. So basically, employee owned. Okay, nice. I mean, it's been sitting for a while. It's really, really dark. The foam has completely settled. It's actually, they have a really good rundown of the flavors and the aromas you'll be tasting and smelling on the back. So it's a 2-row barley, kilned coffee, Munich flaked barley, pale chocolate, roasted barley, Crystal 60, midnight wheat, and oats. So let's see. We got 30 IBUs.
It's going to be a stout, right?
Yeah, and 75% Ethiopian and 25% Sumatran coffee is used in this beer. So yeah, basically it's a stout, coffee, massive roasted flavor and aroma. Definitely smells like coffee, so you know that McWomble would love it. I can't find the alcohol percentage on this. 6%.
So mine's 30. Mine's 30 IBUs too.
Okay, very similar.
So yeah.
Yeah, not too heavy. You know, it's definitely more than a regular stout. Guinness is like a 4.2 ish.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
So you start getting over 5%. That's more heavier than your average stout. This is 6.
Yeah, I realize now that it's sort of blasphemous for me to drink it out of the Guinness glass. But,
well, it is a stout, but
yeah. Well, I was finishing off the nitros that I had last week, so that was what I was drinking earlier.
Well, interesting enough, I didn't even notice this, but Red Bull has like a 350% vitamin B6 and like 120% of vitamin B12.
Oh yeah, you didn't know that?
No. It's actually slightly healthy for you?
Well, it's supposed to
Yeah, you don't need,
uh give you that injection to like keep you awake.
Keep me alert.
like
Yeah.
it's like that guy that stabbed Uma Thurman in the heart with that that adrenaline shot, but it's just Red Bull to the
Red Bull.
just start typing. Just OBS is done in like 5 seconds.
That
It's
was
just-
John Travolta, dude.
I just imagine like the stabbing, and it's like it's Red Bull, and she just goes, "Gives you wings." She wakes up.
Oh, gives you wings. Yeah, this is really good. Yeah, roasty, a bit of sweetness in the malt, but yeah, you can. It's coffee, roasty, stout. It's good. It's a really nice one.
Wait, what's that? What's that one game Insomniac did that was it was a platformer shooter for Xbox exclusive. It had to do with the Soda Pop company.
Sunset Overdrive.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
I
was
really
like-
want to play that game. I missed out on it because I didn't have an Xbox.
Well, I did. I played it on Game Pass. It's okay, to be honest. It's
Oh, really?
It's just okay.
You can kind of tell how they started figuring out cool ways to move around. It's like, oh, okay, they're really good at that. They're the perfect people to do a Spider-Man game.
Yeah, it wasn't as smooth as I was hoping it would be in regards to like transitions between different move sets. But anyways, the reason I bring it up is like, man, Red Bull missed out a serious opportunity. They could have sponsored the crap out. They could have just sponsored it and bend the beverage to like turn people into like creatures.
I don't know. That's kind of bad marketing. Like, hey, don't drink our.
It's a
No
video
publicity.
game.
No publicity is bad publicity, right?
Sure, yeah. Our new formula turns you into a fucking gross
zombie.
like zombie. Oh, and the other beer. So Isetan is a huge department store, usually connected close to stations. So basically, in Kyoto Station is one of the Isetan department stores, and my friend found tucked away in the basement to the left of the main area, there's this kind of boutique, like wine and beer shop, and they started selling more craft beers from the States, whereas I've mostly been only able to purchase these beers on as imports online. I bought this, and I also bought Brewdog's 5 p.m. Saint, which I'm going to be drinking next. I actually don't know what... Oh, it's a collaboration with Overworks, which I am actually not familiar with. Anyways, yeah, I'll be drinking this one too. Unfiltered. Oh, 21st Century Red Ale, whatever that means.
Interesting.
Latter Day Sour. Okay, there's a lot of text on this. I don't know about that. I don't know where my eyes should be. It's like a Japanese website. But anyways, this will be my second one. This one is good.
Yeah, I was surprised when you picked up the Modern Times and you posted it in the Discord, because that's a beer you could get at Trader Joe's out here.
For me, this is just, it's like amazing to even see this on a shelf in a Japanese store. And I basically just closed my eyes and bought these beers. I mean, this beer is probably about like $7. No kidding.
Jesus.
It's this is 500 mil, right? 16 ounce.
Okay.
But I'm used to it now, and the only way I'm able to have these beers is if I pay that price. And I have my kind of regular cheap Kirin Ichiban Shibori, which is fine, but every now and then I'll usually have one of these and then slowly sip it for like an hour and then switch to my regular. Otherwise, I'm going to be out of pocket if I keep doing this, because it was like 7 beers for like $50, essentially 5,000 yen that I spent last weekend.
Jesus,
yeah. Hopefully I think it might be an import tax and a general beer tax issue in Japan. Beer is highly taxed here. It's like 71 cents or yen per can or something crazy like that. So
that is high.
Depending, there's like levels of the types of beer, the types of taxes depending on the beer and what's in the beer. But that's a story for another time.
Wow.
But yeah, hopefully this is good beer.
All right. So that transitioned us to our topic of the day, gentlemen. This one comes from me. It was brewing in my brain because I was watching Snyder Cut. All hail the Snyder Cut. Love the Snyder Cut. People are gonna
This
hate
guy's
me
been
for saying
all
that.
about it for the last
I
week.
have. It's night and day different between the Joss Whedon Justice League. So if you think that's a horrendous movie, watch the Snyder Cut and you'll be amazed. Anyways, I was thinking about it because I was like, I understand Zack Snyder gets hate for what he does, but I was like, Zack Snyder, I think would be an amazing game director. And so I thought in my brain of being like, well, why don't we try to like come up with our thoughts on directors from both video games and have them transition to film, and then take a game director that is from film and transition it to video games. And what director would you do for each of those topics? So let's just start with movies to games, which I throw my hat in the ring for Mr. Zack Snyder to direct a video game, because I think the visual medium is his masterwork in regards to cinematography, angles, action sequences. I think he does it all really well, that I think he could make a real kick-ass video game.
Okay. Do you have a particular genre of video game that you think he would be good at?
I would give him like God of War, the original God of War style. So like
an action adventure.
A little
That's what I was
little
thinking.
bit of like a button masher, but like have combos within it. I'm not nothing too finesse. Let's not overcomplicate things for him.
Right.
We know he can get a little too carried away when you overcomplicate things for him. But
some nice quick time events.
Yes, to make
But
those
it's
like
slow mo, like
in slow mo.
when you stagger an enemy and the triangle button appears above their head,
It just
you tap that and you go into like the slow mo kill, like the "This is Sparta" kick, or
But I
Right.
think
down,
that's
spin
actually
the guy
pretty
around,
cool
snap his
though.
neck.
Like it would change up the way we think of QuickTime events, because usually QuickTime events happen in usually faster motion. Sometimes they slow down. I think in Spider-Man they slow them down a bit, which I think makes them a little more unique. But I think for sure, or even like his finishers be like in more of a slow motion. I think that'd be really cool to watch more.
You know what? That might be the closest you'd get to a Zack Snyder directed like takedown thing is Spider-Man, because the camera does get a bit cinematic where it zooms in and spins around. Will like zoom up and he like does a slow kick, and then it'll speed up a bit and then slow down again, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep, you are.
And we all know Zack Snyder loves to speed up and then quickly slow down shots. He's been doing it for so long. He did it in 300 it was probably the first Snyder movie I'd seen. He did it in Watchmen a lot. He loves that. This guy, I bet this guy, he was sitting with his parents when he was a kid. He's sitting on the floor, right? Cross-legged, and he just had the remote and he was just like fast forwarding and like slowing it down and stopping. And then his dad is like trying to read the paper, but he's like, "God damn it, Zack Snyder." He called him by his full name. Fucking just watch the movie in regular speed.
Well,
I
will tell you what's super interesting, and it has to do with the movies, but it kind of goes with your argument, which is I rewatched some scenes of Justice League, of the one with Joss Whedon's version. I always do air quotes because technically it says Zack Snyder, but it's really Joss Whedon, let's be honest, directed it. And when I watched it, Joss Whedon's version was so much faster because it didn't involve as much slow-mo, and I think it hindered the film beyond belief because things were done like that. It's like you don't have time to like really
process the action,
because it's like if you compare this to Marvel, like Iron Man, Captain America, they all aren't as fast as like a Superman or a Wonder Woman. Those beings are extremely fast. And so how in the world do you not like slow it down to make it cinematically work for them? So like it makes sense. But I love the slow down, speed up. I think it adds dynamics, so for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Evan, you got one?
Which are we doing? We're doing
movie to
film
game.
directors that would direct a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right, so thank God I prepared for this episode. I was just thinking in my head, even though like we started, I'm a bit earlier than I had converted the time, but good thing I already had this planned out. I would like to see John Carpenter direct
Oh.
a horror game.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
What has John
The
Carpenter
thing,
done
John
before?
Carpenter's The Thing is
Yeah,
my favorite movie
The
of
Thing.
all time. John Carpenter, he's most notably known. He
What about
he's fallen off
Ghosts of Mars too, right?
pretty much from Ghost of Mars is terrible. Yeah, that's when it started. The Ward is a horrible movie. But when you talk about Big Trouble in Little China, Assault on Precinct 13, The Thing, you have Prince of Darkness, Escape from New York, Escape from LA. He
Right.
was great at '80s. Just and if you see any of his movies, because they're products of the time as well, right? You're like, this is the '80s. It's such a microcosm of '80s filmmaking, but they're all great films, and I love kind of I'm into like exploitation films, like '70s grindhouse trash films.
Right.
Recently, I've been trying to find a copy of this movie that I think Quentin Tarantino and both Rob Zombie really like, called Werewolves on Wheels. It's this
Okay.
like cheesy ass '70s exploitation kind of horror film. I love that stuff. I love schlock, and I would say that Carpenter makes like elevated schlock. Any other
Okay.
director could take what he did and make like a horrible movie with like the budgets he has had to work with as well. But he can take the budgets he's had to work with and make something elevated. It's like a gastropub, right? They take the hamburger and the French fries or the wedges, and they turn it into something that's worth more than a $2 McDonald's hamburger, right?
Right.
And then they overcharge for drinks or whatever. That's John Carpenter is like that. And if you talk about an opening to a movie, and I'm talking cinematography, establishing the characters and who they are, location, atmosphere, and music, like he's done most of his music throughout his career. Like he goes on tour as a musician. He directs the movies and makes music. I don't know how many people do that. The beginning of The Thing, the opening of The Thing, and the atmosphere of this isolated outpost in Antarctica, and how before shit even hits the fan with The Thing and the absolutely amazing special effects, it's just the way he creates this unsettling atmosphere in his movies, I think would be great for a smaller horror game. I think he could just look at what's on the screen and be like, all right, no, we need to do this. We need to have the camera here. We need to put the music here. We need to space out the action versus the the exploration sections. I think he'd be good at directing, looking at the product and being able to tweak it in certain ways, because he just has a really good mind when it comes to that.
What specifically kind of horror game are you thinking? Are you thinking like a classic Resident Evil style in regards to like the action, puzzle solving, adventure? Are you looking at like something like The Medium, where it was more of an adventure game with puzzles inside of it? Or were you thinking something like what's the one by
I think
Until Dawn, where it's more of a quick time character choose your adventure?
I think it'd probably be more like Amnesia. Have you guys played the Amnesia games?
I have not actually. I've heard
Dark Descent, The Machine for Pigs.
Yeah, I've heard good things about
games.
the series as a whole. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's done action. Like you see Assault on Precinct 13 and Escape from New York, and even a movie like Vampires, which I mean, I don't know, it's okay. He can do action, but I think the game that I'd want to see him do is a bit slower. Like I want it to be very atmospheric, more Silent Hill than Resident Evil 2. And I mean, The Thing is my favorite movie, so all I do is think about The Thing. They tried to make a Thing game.
The game was all right. It was 2011.
The game was
right?
all right. Yeah. Yeah, like the worst thing about that game is McCready shows up at the end and you're in that helicopter. It was like, no, like I think John Carpenter gave his blessing on it as like a sequel, and like, no, that the thing has one of the most perfect endings to a movie ever. Like, don't pretend that this is canon. It can't be. So yeah, something a bit more Silent Hill, I would say. And another thing is, I think he could do a lot with a little, and the reason being is most of his career he's not had the budget that he could have had, and he's even said in interviews back in the day where, like, if you look at the special effects, like look at a supercut, you listening and watching, look at a supercut of John Carpenter's The Thing, the special effects of The Thing, the creature, and what they were able to do, it looks good now. There's one part in particular where it does not, it totally looks like this kind of like robotic like mannequin that's like attached to another mannequin kind of flailing about, but whatever. Most of it looks really, really good. And he had said like the limitations we had bred creativity, because we had to figure out how to do things in an interesting way, because we couldn't just throw money at it and get it done. And recently on Twitter, I saw some guy who he had made a Kratos costume for Halloween, but for Kratos's like red tattoo, he just wrapped a fruit roll up over his head, and I'm like, all right, it looks like crap, but I like the creativity involved due to the limitations. Like, he didn't have red paint, so he used a fruit roll up, and so like John Carpenter's good at that type of thing. Like he can look at Kratos's costume and say, all right, we don't have enough for red paint, but we do have fruit roll-ups in the pantry. Let's get it done, type of thing. And I think he could you don't have to throw a AAA budget at him to get things done, but being a director and having a team that has enough money to make a game that looks good, that's completely different from the filmmaking world in that regard. Right. But yeah, by the way, look up, someone has to have this on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen the opening of The Thing, where the title reveal, where you see like the glowing blue lights shining through the logo as it's like kind of pouring down.
Yeah,
the way that they did that is amazing. They did so much with it. Looks amazing, and all they did was like peel off like tape as they shined a blue light through an aquarium or something. They did so much with so little. So yeah, I think he would be great with that type of thing. And I'm really looking for a new atmospheric horror game. And Mitch, I remember you saying that The Medium was more on the disappointing side with that. So I was hoping that game was going to be something different. So I'm kind of waiting for that next horror game. And yeah, if he made one, I'd play it.
I will say, because you said the budget, if you're going to give Zack Snyder a video game, it's better be the biggest fucking budget you can give him.
Yeah, it's like two ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Burkoff, what's your movie director?
I actually have 3, if you guys will indulge me for a moment.
Excuse me, did you not understand the assignment?
I don't know that I can go too in depth on my choices, but
then I will give a second one after you give. So you give one, give 2. I'll give one more, and then you can give a last one, because I have one in mind that I was thinking about.
Don't spec.
All right, my first 2 are Christopher Nolan and James Cameron. I think Christopher Nolan would definitely do an action adventure game for sure. Something
like Uncharted.
Yeah, something like Uncharted, or like the Batman Arkham games or something like that. And James Cameron would definitely do a VR game that requires you to buy a full fucking. You have to buy like a $5,000 PC to play it.
Plus a costume.
Yeah. You have to dress up.
You have to dress up into the costume, even though it doesn't affect the game in any capacity. There's it's the sensor is inside the costume for your hands for the controller, so you have to wear the costume to be able to access the buttons.
Yeah, it'd be brand new technology, and it only plays one game.
Yep,
it's just
exactly.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah,
and it's like you put the costume on. It's not like you can apply it to any other game. Like, what are you gonna apply it to?
I think your Christopher Nolan pick is interesting because it could tell a story in a unique way. For some reason, Christopher Nolan loves telling, whether it's even Batman, he loves telling his stories out of sequence. Batman
True,
constantly
yeah.
jumps around from past to present. So does Memento, but that's kind of the main point of that story.
We even
Tenet is like that because also a
even
main point of that
Even
story.
Tenet, the
yeah.
new movie, does that as well.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, Batman Begins and
even
is out of
Interstellar to a certain extent.
Interstellar
Interstellar.
too. The Dark Knight doesn't, surprisingly. I think that's why it's one of his best movies.
Yeah. Oh, The Prestige jumps around, but that's because it's too.
Two different
I was
characters.
gonna say,
Two different.
yeah, they're reading each other's diary, so
Yeah.
it keeps going back in time.
Yeah.
And one thing I like about his movies, say what you will about like he keeps doing that, he keeps telling his movies out of sequence, but in the beginning of the movie, or at least the first third, you feel so stupid. You're like, I don't understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of the movie, it all comes together. Like you're able to piece it together. So
Except
it would
for
be interesting
Interstellar.
if it's like Act 1 you play.
Interstellar makes sense to me.
I mean, it makes sense to me, but I will say it is a little dense. It's a little dense.
I would say, like, all right, I probably wouldn't have watched Interstellar if Memento hadn't just blown my fucking mind as a kid. Right?
I will say that's the one movie I need to watch of Christopher Nolan's. I've not seen Memento.
It's phenomenal, dude. I've seen it multiple times.
It's on my list. I love Prestige is one of my favorite movies that he's ever done. It's like, I think it's, oh my god, and that ending. The
Prestige
ending
is my favorite.
The ending's amazing. I mean, like, if anything, he could take a game and just the ending itself, he could just make your mind blow for just like that 1 second. You're just going, what? and then you have to like understand, like, DLC. I want DLC like now. It's like
Prestige DLC. Yeah, The Prestige is one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies. When I walked out of that theater, I was like, that is a movie-going experience. It was just...
Well, see, I never saw that one in theaters. I ended up seeing that one when it came out on like digital, or like I randomly found it, and I was like, oh my god.
I saw it at the tail end of its run in theaters. It was a $2 Tuesdays at the Budget Theater in Milwaukee. But imagine if you're playing a game. Imagine if you're playing a game like it starts like Act 1, right? And then after whatever, like an hour and a half, the next thing is like Act 6, and you're like, what the hell? And so, okay, all right, let's feel this out. Okay, something between Act 1 and Act 6, obviously something has happened. This character's older. They're introducing new characters, and then it keeps jumping around, and then by like halfway through the game, it all starts piecing together. I think it'd be a really interesting way to tell a story, and he's done it before, so he's proven to be able to.
And I think
put
he
a story
also can
together that
create
way.
the set piece moment that you're looking for in a game. Like, he's created so many different ways of having a sequence, and you could involve that with gameplay. So like an example would be like in Interstellar, not Interstellar, I'm sorry, in Inception with the twisting, the rotating of the hallway. I think that could be a really cool gameplay mechanic of combat, like within that moment, to actually do combat, not like a sequence. Another one I thought of is in Tenet, and I'm not going to give people hopefully have seen the movie, but I'm not going to spoil anything. But when things go in reverse time, you can go in forward time while other people are going in reverse time. And I think that also could add an interesting combat mechanic, because you're trying to attack somebody, but they're going in reverse time and you're going in forward time. So I think that also makes it flips.
It could be like super hot a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it kind of just flips it on its head a little bit of like what you expect in a video game, and I think he can do that really, really well.
I think of when I first played the Ashtray Maze from Control. I don't know if you guys have seen that sequence. It's one of the coolest sequences I've seen in a game in a long time, but it really reminded me of the hallway scene in Inception, where everything starts spinning. So yeah, I agree that he could make those scenes work, or like conceptualize it, you know.
Now, for the record, we don't know for sure if they have directed any of these games. I think James Cameron has been involved with the Avatar video game, but I don't think I don't think he technically directed it. The only one that I know that had been a movie director that moved into directing a video game was the Wachowskis with the Enter the Matrix game that ended up, that was supposed to be the 2.5 leading up. I'm sorry, 1.5. No, sorry, 2.5. It's like in the or 3, 2 or is it like 2.3? It's like in the middle of 2 basically. But anyway, my one I want to add to it. I don't know the director's name, and I feel bad now, and I should look it up, but I really don't want to type it out. So pardon my my not looking this up. But the director that directed The Raid, and I think it's The Raid Redemption, I want to say. I just watched this. Now I'm gonna look this up. Yep, The Raid Redemption. It came out in 2011. The director is Gareth Evans.
Gareth Evans. Yeah, Gareth Evans.
I must say,
he's a good director.
I have to say, that is one of the best action movies I've seen in quite some time. If you have not seen The Raid Redemption, I literally watched it for the first time like 2.5 weeks ago. It is amazing. Like the camera work, the actual fighting, the kung fu, like it is just, I was gonna say, so good. So
yeah,
good.
It looks like a classic, like a Jackie Chan movie or something.
Have you not seen it?
I haven't seen it.
So premise is basically there's this giant building that these three bosses, this one main boss and two of his henchmen run, and basically like people that take drugs live in that apartment complex and all that kind of stuff, and he gives them sanctuary, and in return they give him like basically protection. So and actually the two actors that play his assistants are in John Wick Chapter 3 as one of the enemies he faces, because they do kung fu, and it's so awesome. But anyway, one
of the main bad guys, right?
They're the assistants to that main Japanese bad guy. So they're alive, so they might come back for Chapter 4. I'm hopeful. I love those guys. They were great. So they have this giant complex, and you as an officer, you play this like young officer. He has a pregnant wife, and he does kung fu, and you're a part of a SWAT team that's coming into the building to raid it and to capture him, and it all just goes wrong. And then all of a sudden you're out of weapons, and then all of a sudden it turns into like hand to fist sword, machete combat. And including one of the bad guys, like one of the henchmen wants to like fight with honor. So he's like, put your gun down. Like, we're going to go in this room and we're just going to kung fu it out. And it is just so awesome. I love it.
It totally feels like a video game, because it's like absolutely. He starts at the bottom of the levels, complex, and he's got to get to the top. Yeah.
Yep.
And the Carl Urban Judge Dredd movie from mid 2000s.
Oh yeah, he's in the projects.
Yeah, it's Burkoff. If you've seen that, it's the exact same premise of The Raid. They ripped it from The Raid. He goes. Okay. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Mitch?
Yeah.
Dredd?
No, I haven't.
Dude, so they go to this like super like a council house kind of project on a call for some drug deal or something.
When they get into this, it's like a whole city block though. It's massive.
Yeah, it's this huge building, and once they get in there, the building goes down in lockdown, and then the main mama, she's the main drug dealer, who's what's her name from Game of Thrones.
Cersei or
Cersei, yeah.
Is it Cersei?
It's Cersei before.
Oh wow!
Before anyone knew who she was, yeah. She orders everyone in the complex to kill the judges, and they have to fight their way up to the top. It's exactly like Burkoff. If you've seen Dredd, take that. Okay. But the Raid did it before Dredd.
Now the only warning for the Raid
and more awesome combat.
Yeah, the only warning for the Raid, if you're gonna watch it, is I know, and I only say this because I know it's deal breakers for some people. It's not a deal breaker for me, and I don't think it should be. It is a foreign film, so there are subtitles throughout this entire film, but it shouldn't matter, because this movie, like, you don't even need subtitles to watch this movie, because the action is just so good and so It's like if you took a kung fu game and then added Last of Us brutality in it, in regards to like slicing necks off and like chopping arms off. Like, that's what this movie's like. And it's like, that would make it reminds me of like, oh God, it's like if you took have you guys ever played the Punisher game for like PS2?
Yeah, that game was brutal.
That game was brutal. Oh,
never played it.
I highly recommend if you're not that grossed out.
He's like at the zoo. Look comes and
Oh my
stabs
gosh,
him in the
it's
chest.
so good.
It's great.
So like if you never,
It's so cheesy, but it's so great.
yeah, it's so cheesy. And if you're not, if like really gory stuff doesn't freak you out, it's actually quite an interesting game because there's just, you could hold a guy and there are like 7 things to interact with to torture the guy to either get him to talk, or you can just flat out kill him, including like one time you take like like there's a drill from the top view and you put his head down and you just start like tempting to hit his eye and then to get him to talk and be like, tell me where it's located. Tell me where it's located. And they're like, I'm not going to tell you, Jack. And then you start like stabbing his eye and he's like, okay, I'll tell you. And then you could just like, once he tells you, you could just totally like just keep going and just like end his life. It's just some of the goriest stuff I've ever seen in games.
Yeah, they totally had a torture / interrogation mechanic in that game. It was
I don't even think it was NC-17. I think it was just rated M too.
By the way, Punisher Warzone is also a really good movie where they just decided to say screw it. The Punisher is like a terrible person and he just brutally murders everyone. The opening scene in that movie, he just like jumps down onto this like long table that the mafia is at and like walks up to the main mafia guy and just cuts his head off, and then he flips upside down, hangs from a chandelier and spins around and shoots everyone. It's amazing. It's so good.
I also do have to say, what I do appreciate about that game more than ever would be the dual shotguns, and how he reloads is he shoots the guns, he'll throw them up, he'll cock them up, and then he'll throw them back into his hands again. And I'm like,
we need more video games like that. Yeah, it was like a mixture of like Max Payne and a little bit of old school Hitman.
Yeah, it
plus
was
something else in there. Yeah,
it was the weirdest thing. But
there's a casket scene where he comes out of the casket and you start
Yep.
shooting all the mafia members. That was a pretty awesome set piece as well.
Yeah, so it's like that's what the raid could do. It could be like a super action game, but like with the
Totally.
brutality of like a Last of Us or even the Punisher.
I love that. Just one location the entire game. You got to get up to the top of the building
I guess
or whatever.
Sifu is kind of the closest thing we're getting to something like that, but I think if
Yeah.
you take it and make seafood even more brutal.
It would have to be brutal. Yeah, this is more like stylized.
Yeah,
right?
this is like stylized
the
kung
seafood.
fu. It's the
Yeah.
seafood game, which is still fascinating. I'm still excited for. What's your last
Totally.
one, Burkoff?
Well, shit. Now I'm conflicted. I have 2 final ones that I want to use.
Wait,
So
hold up. You're like, I got 3.
I did have 3.
And then I was like, I'll throw one extra in. And then you're like, wait, I'm torn
Nope.
because I got 2 more?
Well, because as we're talking, I'm thinking of other directors, but my
Maybe
original...
I should cut you off and say, Evan, do you have any additional directors that you would like?
No, I'm done. I don't have any more. So
So
Go
my
ahead, Burkoff.
my original third one was Wes Anderson, and I figured he would do a visual novel style game.
I'm for it. I
Yeah.
like Wes Anderson. He never really disappoints. I know going into his movies what to expect.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's once the movie starts, you're like, this is a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
If I saw a
Like
game like that, that'd be cool.
Royal Tenenbaums, I didn't enjoy as much as other people. I dig the dialogue that happens, but I fell asleep halfway through that. But like Life Aquatic was great, you know. So
Okay, before you do your final one, I'll throw one more in because I thought of one too. I'm going to play that game, Burkoff. I'm going to play that game.
This podcast will never finish.
This is
Just
never,
keep going.
we'll never be done. You ready for this? I'm going with Chad Stahelski. He is the director of every John Wick movie.
okay.
And I only go that route because, and I don't know why I'm on this parade of like, I want like a serious action, hardcore action game that's like brutal but like crazy. And it's like, I would love
Because it would be so damn fun to play. That's why.
you know what I
Yeah.
want? I want Chad Stahelski to make a John Wick video game. Literally, just make the same franchise you've been doing because you're freaking good at it. So just keep going. And the reason why I also like him in the video game world is also because he was, if you don't know, he was Keanu Reeves' stunt double.
Oh, I
Really?
didn't know that.
So
Okay.
that's how he was a stunt double for the Matrix movies. And then he
Interesting.
ended up, if I'm correct with this, I'd have to double check his filmography, but if I'm right on this, I believe he and another director directed Deadpool. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he co-directed with someone else for John Wick Chapter 1. And then the co-director stepped away and went to do Deadpool 2. Or it's the opposite. They both did Deadpool 1, and then Chad Stahelski left to go do John Wick. I can't remember which order that one is. I'll look it up later. But yeah, so he was a stunt double, and then he decided to get into acting, and then get into directing, and then he's like, oh, I want to do this like crazy stunt work movies. And I think just crazy stunt work game screams to me like, get it done. Like because when I saw the sequence in was it Watch Dogs Legion, where they basically made the club scene from John Wick Chapter 1 in that short trailer sequence, it just reaffirmed in my mind as like, I need a John Wick video game like that, or just a game like that that's, it doesn't have to be John Wick, but just give me a kick-ass like hero that is just badass in every way possible. Like, just can't be more badass than it is.
If there's a satisfying combo system, or like a satisfying like,
you could even do it with the Arkham style. You could. It works.
yeah, like if there's like a solid action where like you can counter, you can do different button inputs to do different, chain different attacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna look up his filmography while you do your last one.
I would say the game that's been most successful with doing melee kind of CQC combat and shooting is probably Sleeping Dogs. That game had a great fighting system.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My apologies. His name is Chad Stahelski. You're
absolutely like elbowing and like locking, and fucking him up, and also shooting.
Definitely.
Okay, I have to apologize. I called him. Oh, go ahead.
No. What was his? What's his name?
I called him John Stahelski. I meant Chad Stahelski. That's his name. And he did do the first. Yeah, he did do the first John Wick movie with David Leitch, and David Leitch went to go do Deadpool 2. And then Stahelski has been doing the film since. Which
is a very, very funny movie. So if he did like a John Wick movie like a Sleeping Dogs, or like a Sleeping Dogs 2 or his own thing, yeah, I like the idea of doing both CQC and like a cool melee combat system while also having shooting in it. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see a game that balances both of those two. Not a lot of games do that. It's either one or the other, and one is better than the other. They can never balance it out where both feel really, really good, but that is probably just hard to program.
But I think what you could do is something as simple as, like you could do the Arkham combat system, but not have the camera be panned out, like where you see everyone all around you, where maybe it is still just behind the character. So then when you like do a combo for like a punch or something, or like a disarmament, you can have like an opportunity, if you do the combo right, of a slow motion shot. You get one extra shot you can do in slow motion, and then you can like shoot an enemy and then continue on with your combo stuff. So like I think there's something you can mix in with that to like add gunplay within the combat system.
Yeah, totally. Burkoff, you had one more, was it?
Yeah, Luc Besson, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. The guy that did Fifth Element and the Transporter movies.
I recognize the director, but I've never seen any of those movies.
What? You've never seen The Fifth Element?
Whoa.
Fifth Element? Whoa. No.
Fifth Element's
Multipass. Awesome. Multipass.
I don't understand.
Oh my god. All right, dude.
Burkoff. Before my time.
Actually, I think
I wonder, how old were you when that movie came out, Mitch?
Yeah, let's look this up. Fifth Element.
Fifth Element was 97. How old were you?
4.
Oh, all right, okay. So yeah, Fifth Element's a great sci-fi
wait, that's not
adventure movie.
That's not the one. Okay, keep going. I'm gonna look this up because the artwork looks familiar.
But yeah, I think he would do a great action RPG, because the universe and the story and stuff is so dense in the Fifth Element. There's so many things like the on the cruise ship with
Oh,
Chris.
he did Lucy and Valerian, City of a Thousand Planets.
Yeah, and that movie as well has some heavy sci-fi. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and the transporter movies are really good, like heavy action, Jason Statham, martial arts.
That
So
that scene when he's fighting those guys on like the oil that's had spilled on the ground is
yes,
great.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
good. It's a great scene. Yeah, Fifth Element is totally like action RPG. And I love the idea of making a world that we don't learn a whole lot about, but they do such a great job of making you believe in this world and understand like okay, there's a lot to this world. There's a lot of lore that we're not necessarily going to learn about, but in the art design, in the creature design, in the complexity of like the worlds that they show, you can tell like
yes.
it's super beefy story. And yeah, I could totally see something
Well,
with
I
that deal.
actually think he does that really well. I know Valerian's not a very well acclaimed type movie, but I think one thing David Leitch did really well. I mean, not David Leitch, Luc Besson did really well in that film was when you actually went to that when you went to Valerian to the City of a Thousand Planets. I think he did such great job of interconnection between all the different districts and them being different worlds. I think
It
it was real. I was like, I could see an RPG be that for sure, hands
it
down.
has yeah, it has a very similar visual style between the two movies. So for sure, yeah, I could totally see that.
All right. So, movie to game directors are done. They are already working on these projects as we speak because we demand them.
Oh man.
I know that's why I said people should like this podcast because we have power. Kind of funny doesn't have the power like we
And
do. The Easy Allies don't got the power like we do. We have more power because we are
Shout
the.
outs
Oh, go ahead.
shout out to S Swanland or Swanland in the chat. He was wondering, Evan, do you know about A24, the horror film?
he and I have been going back and forth on the Sifted Discord. And sorry to him, I like left the Sifted Discord. So if he has been like wondering, he's always given me like, hey, like Evan, check this film out, and I'll be like, hey, did you see this trailer? We've gone back and forth, and he's given me some really good recommendations on films, especially horror, because I know he loves his horror. I do not know about this, but I will definitely be searching for it after the podcast because I've been on a roll with horror movies. I've seen like 6 horror movies in the past 2 weeks, and I can't get enough people getting brutally murdered. I'm just kidding. Not everyone dies in these films. Some of them do have happy endings.
You want to know my favorite horror movie that does like a flip on the genre? It's called The
Which
Cabin
one?
in the Woods.
I've heard
Oh,
of that
Cabin in
movie.
the Woods
I don't think I've
is a
seen it, but
smart.
yeah.
Isn't
You've
that Joss Whedon, your favorite director? Isn't he a
Is it?
producer or
He
something?
produced it. He didn't direct it.
He produced it, yeah.
Which
Man, this
I will say now because there's been atrocious things that he has done and people have came out and said about those things. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I think it's one of the greatest shows ever made, and I am okay removing the art from the artist. I don't think he should work in
for the
Hollywood
most part, I
again.
agree.
I mean,
I don't think he should work in Hollywood again for the things he's done to the people he's worked with, but it does not mean I can't enjoy the stuff he has released. So that's all.
I don't know. I don't know anything about what he's done. I just know what he's worked on. But Dollhouse was great.
I love
Jo-
Dollhouse. Oh, Dollhouse is such a good
I
show.
thought Joss Whedon was like the king of the nerds. What the hell happened?
You can look it up, but he just he treated women very poorly.
Oh,
Angel with
right.
Charisma Carpenter, he made some very harsh comments about her when she got pregnant during Angel and basically cut her off the show because she was pregnant. And there's other people that came out with similar type comments about his misogyny with women and the treatment of women. And yeah, it was just, didn't that happen all during Justice League? And so that's how all this came out. So,
Oh, the whole Snyder release the Snyder cut. All right, okay.
well, it's a separate issue of Release the Snyder Cut, but this was just an issue of Ray Fisher, the actor that plays Cyborg, came out with a statement saying that Joss Whedon's was not a professional appropriate during the filming of the movie, and he wanted an investigation. They got one, and then they found some really harsh things, and Joss Whedon isn't going to work in Hollywood again. So,
I like Dan in the comments said, "Oh, he's a misogynist!" Exclamation point. Like, oh, okay. I had no idea.
so yeah, there's Charisma Carpenter just came out with that statement, I want to say a couple weeks ago, and then a couple people on the Buffy show came out with some comments as well about how, including Michelle Trachtenberg, talked about how poorly she was treated on the show as well. So yeah, you never know until you yeah, so I'm okay separating the art from the artist, but I don't think he should work in Hollywood ever again, because it's not okay. So
Okay.
Moving on, because we have the power to change things. So let's move game directors into the movie genre. I'm not gonna go first this time. I'm gonna throw it to Burkoff, because Burkoff likes to give us all his stuff.
So I also have 3 for this one.
Oh my fucking god.
Dude, this guy's been planning for this episode.
He hasn't. I came up with this freaking topic like 4 days ago.
He's had so much time off. All he was doing is playing cast.
Yeah. Now, when you brought it up, I was like, "Oh, this is a really good topic."
Wow.
So
that's so nice. I appreciate.
And
that.
I don't watch a lot of movies either, so there's that. But my first one is Tim Schafer. I think he should do some type of an animated movie of some kind.
I like it.
He has that same sort of like Disney Pixar sort of feel to a lot of his stuff,
with the Tim Burton wacky vibe.
But yeah, like a Tim Burton wacky vibe. Yeah. So that's that's my first pick. Do you want me to run through all 3?
No, I don't want you to run through all 3. I'm gonna go to Evan next, because Evan's more important.
Do we have the same one, Mitch? You had mentioned a certain Japanese video game director earlier in the show. I thought that might have been foreshadowing.
No,
Kojima.
I was just assuming people would pick him, so I didn't pick him.
Same. Yeah.
Okay.
I was assuming Evan would be the scapegoat on this one.
Before I do that, also from Isetan, I picked up.
Whoa.
That's an arrogant bastard, isn't it?
Whoa.
Metallica collaboration.
Wait. So
Pilsner.
So they worked with Stone to do a Pilsner?
So did they break off into like another company? Because it says it's brewed and canned by Arrogant Consortia.
Yeah, it is a separate company now. Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that. But yeah, so this is Arrogant Consortia, Enter Night Pilsner. So when I saw the Enter Night Pilsner, it's such a dark can. I'm thinking, okay, like what kind of Pilsner is this going to be? But the most important thing on this, I love here, it just says, listen to Metallica. Your favorite band, Burkoff.
I fucking hate Metallica.
I'm so surprised that you say that. We don't have to get into this. This is a total after hours conversation. But like I'm a huge Metallica fan.
You know what? It's 1:13 in the morning here. After hours is already now, so just go at it.
It's basically, but yeah. The only reason I'm cracking this is because I don't have any of my regular beer in the fridge. So whatever. I know I can get this. I don't have to order it online. I can just go to Kyoto Station and get it. So whatever. But I'll let this sit for a while as I pour it. But my pick for a video game director to direct a full-length feature film is Kojima-san, Hideo Kojima, but not for the reasons you think. Now, I think this is one of those picks where you think, oh, of course, someone on this podcast is going to say his name. However, the reason I want him to finally delve into the world of movie directing is so that everyone sees him for the hack fake movie director that he would most likely be. And I can totally see at the end of all of this, this movie he makes would have a 37% Rotten Tomatoes score and like an 87% user review, because all of the Kojima nerds would jump onto Rotten Tomatoes and try to get this film pumped up to 100% as much as they could. Not only that, what would happen is all of these Kojima fanboys would attack all these critics, these film critics who don't know anything about games. You know, most of them probably don't. Attack all these film critics on Rotten Tomatoes, on forums, on Twitter, and it would turn into a story in the film world where you'll have people having to first explain who the hell Hideo Kojima is, and then explain like what he's been doing and how he's always wanted to be a film director. And then he made all these games, he made enough money, he has all these, he's buddying with all these like Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus. And he's desperately wanted to be a film director his whole life. He said as much, and he finally directed his film. So I just want to see all these people who have no idea who this guy is. They have to write this giant introduction to preface the statement as how all these critics got completely trolled and hassled online because they gave this terrible movie a bad movie review, and how the movie world and the game world kind of intertwined because of this really, really strange story of how this guy thought he was good enough to make films, and then we kind of figure out, no, finally, just let's put it out in the open. All these people think he's going to make a good movie, but he's not. The movie would be bad. It would be panned. And then he can realize that he's not up to the task of making a full-length film. And then he can just go back to game and fully focus on that. Maybe even cut out all of the cameos in his games and just focus solely on games. I want to see that entire story play out. That is the reason why I want him to
I'll tell you what. I think as much as I hate some of his games, I would probably love the movies that he makes.
Dude, what if he? Okay, and this is the
agree.
other side of it.
I would agree.
What if he made a movie and it was amazing?
It was Oscar. It won like 2 Oscars.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like I think the movie.
Just his ego just inflates to like insane proportions.
He'd be like,
I would also like to see that as well. Like I don't care which way it goes.
He'd be like video game award winning and Oscar award winning director.
Oh God. This guy would just
eat it up. But
yeah, he climbed another mountain.
I will say the one thing I will enjoy if he did one would be, you can say what you want about Death Stranding and how complicated this plot is. Yeah, it's complicated. I'm not gonna defend that. What I will defend though is his cinematography is amazing in that, where some sequences in the cutscenes are. I could imagine him doing a film and doing shots like that, and it would be freaking amazing.
Well, like Metal Gear Solid 4 has a lot of good scenes where you get different camera angles and stuff. It's just the thing that sucks about it from a video game perspective is you have to sit there through, an hour or 90 minutes at a time. You're like, come the fuck on, just let me get back to the goddamn game.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting down to watch just a 2-hour or 3-hour, it would probably be like 4 hours for Kojima. But
dude, this guy has Snyder cut length, like full length feature film.
But like if I'm into like if I'm already in the mindset of okay, I'm gonna sit down and watch some shit by him, I would probably be into it. It's just the fact that it like interjects into the gameplay. That's what I'm like, all right, dude, get the hell out of here. Just let me play the fucking game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he would have to have a really good co-writer if he was going to do film. He just needs a good co-writer to kind of help direct him. The director needs directing to direct him into the right direction and make sure the plot works. But in regards to actually like filming the shots, I think he would be phenomenal. I think he would do a really amazing job with it. So I actually want that to happen. I'm curious on what would happen if it happened.
Closing.
He reminds me of he could have a similar path like Bong Joon-ho. Bong Joon-ho makes
who's a great filmmaker.
Great filmmaker. Yeah. He makes very unique films, and also the directing is well done. So I think he could have a similar path like Bong Joon-ho.
Okay. Closing statements on this is, yeah, like I heard so much about Death Stranding when it first came out. I'm like, I am not going to like this game. And I ended up really, really liking the game. Metal Gear Solid 4, I think, is a terrible game. I hate that game. He's really good at creating stories, but he, like you're saying, Mitch, he needs an editor. He needs someone who can convince him to just trim the fat and the bullshit on a lot of what's going on in these scenes. And there is a specific scene in Metal Gear Solid 4. It's in the section where Snake goes to France. And it's a really cool section because all you're doing is it completely changes up the gameplay. And it becomes this kind of detective noir atmospheric thing where you just hands in pockets tailing someone through this old French town. It's so cool. And then it culminates in Liquid Snake and several of his cohorts on this boat on this river. And what happens is the entire, I don't know if it's Interpol or whoever in the game, the army, I don't know who plays the part of like the police force. The main goal of the scene is to get across the idea that he is completely surrounded. And what happens is, you think I'm completely surrounded, then he pulls this kind of crazy thing and he gets out of it. So the main thing is we need to show the audience that he's completely surrounded. There's no way he can get out, right? And so there's this cut with like cars coming in, SWAT team cars coming in, helicopters, all these guys shuffling out of the back of these SWAT trucks. They line the bridge, they line the side of the river, guns, boom, 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 and like all the guns up pointing. And the scene goes on forever. And it just keeps showing cuts of trucks pulling up and helicopters and lights. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I get it. He is completely surrounded. Stop showing me more. Like, he needs someone there to look at that scene, like an editor. Quentin Tarantino's editor, who died before Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, she was like absolutely amazing. She took his kind of crazy ideas and she was able to cut it into a film. She's just a really good editor. Kojima needs an editor like that can look at his giant idea and see that scene where the main goal is to show that he's completely, Liquid Snake is completely surrounded, and just trim the fat from the scene. If they can do that, then you're not going to be watching these hour-and-a-half long cutscenes or this ridiculously long thing where Liquid Snake and Solid Snake are punching each other to shit on top of Metal Gear, and it just goes on for a bit too long. He could pull it off if he has someone there's like, dude, just no, you got to cut like 15 minutes from this specific scene. If he had that, then maybe he could tell a more coherent story. But whichever, right? If he makes them film and then he finally realizes he doesn't have the chops to direct a movie and he goes back to playing games, or he surprises everyone and the thing's got like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and he's got the biggest ego in the world. Like, either story is great. I'd like either of those paths. But yeah. So do you think he'll direct a movie? Eventually? Yeah.
It could be even
maybe.
It could be like an indie film. I imagine it being an indie project, nothing big blockbuster. I don't imagine, if anybody, maybe Sony Pictures, like, because Sony's doing that initiative of turning their franchises into different mediums, especially in TV and movies. I could see Sony maybe pitching to Kojima being like, hey, you want that hand in that filmmaking? You make us a show that we would like, maybe a Metal Gear Solid TV show, and you get your foot in the door.
What is Neil Druckmann's capacity on the Last of Us show? Is he like a consultant, like a script consultant or something?
I think he's a writer, and
okay.
I think he's a producer.
I wonder if they were to do something like that Kojima would play that part, although he would really actually want to direct. But anyways, sorry, that was a long one. But
hold on, let me just look it up really quick just to see Neil Druckmann's.
Maybe that's the program that he starts
creators. With. That's his title. Mm-hmm. He's not a producer, but he's just a program creator.
That makes sense.
Program creator.
Probably he has like final say on script and things like that.
it says like Metal Gear Solid 4-part limited series coming to Netflix, and then you look and it says the editor is Kojima, and you're like, oh no, no. Anyways,
So mine. I mean, it goes with. I should just say that I shouldn't even have to explain myself by just saying this person. To be honest, I will go Corey Barlock.
Okay.
I was thinking about his name as well when I thought about this topic.
God of War, I think, is just a phenomenal piece of. Even without it being a game, if it was not a game, it would still be a phenomenal piece of film work. Like just the fact that he wanted this game with a no-cut camera changes the cinematography of that entire piece of artwork. That is to something that I've never experienced in my life, and offers opportunities and amazing moments that I just never could imagine in a video game. Like it's simple.
That first fight, man, that was quite the
like my favorite.
spectacle.
It's one of my favorite shots is when he gets uppercutted and the camera follows him up in the air and then follows him down. I think it's just genius. I also think, the no cut camera allowed for opportunities to, because cameras always cut. They always like cut between showing the faces of who's talking. And sometimes it was just the moments of the other character talking, but the camera wasn't panned on them because it's a no cut camera. It's panned on the other person, and just seeing their expression on their face to what they're hearing was just as impactful as if they cut and then flipped it to the other person. I also know, obviously, when I do a ton of research, especially on games I like, so I listen to a lot of stuff that Corey did, and Corey worked for Lucasfilm for a while, and he learned a lot of things. He learned that Lucasfilm, when they were making a TV series I don't know if he was writing for it or he just knew about it when he was working at Lucasfilm, that they wrote 5 seasons of a show ahead of time. And he's like, why do you do that? And it's like, they said that we write 5 seasons of a show is because we can then put little snippets into season 1 that will come up in season 5. And another reference you can make is like, if you're a Firefly fan, I guess here's another Joss Whedon one, but if you're a Firefly fan, there's a company on a giant billboard. I don't know what episode it's on specifically, I can't remember, but in the commentary, they're like, oh, that would have been season 2. It's just like a little nugget, or like something like the next God of War, where they talk about how each realm time runs differently in each realm, and they asked about that to him for a question, being like, does that have something to do with future stuff? And he's like, that might be a little nugget that we just offered to you that, has context for currently, but is mainly for context for future. And I think what a movie, if he's going to make a franchise or make a movie franchise, I think he'd be excellent for it, because I think he could make a condensed, well-made story and then be able to put little nuggets in the plot that when you get to the next one, you're like, oh my God, it was referenced in the first one. How did I miss this? All that kind of stuff. And I think the final big thing for me that made me think, okay, he could really helm a project, is when they were originally working on the first God of War. And sorry, not the very first one, but this 2018. They talked about how when they wrote the script, they had thrown away the entire script because they realized they were making game number 2. And it takes a lot for a person to realize, like, after making an entire script for that and going, this is not the right one, and being able to throw it away and say, let's start over. That takes a lot of guts. So I think there's, for so many reasons, I think he would knock it out of the park, hands down.
Yeah, if I saw his name attached to a movie and he's like, yeah, I got a story to tell, but I want to do it in movie format, I would totally watch it for sure. Regardless of what the genre or the story was, I'd like to see what he makes. That Racing Kratos documentary was really, really good. and yeah, kind of opened my eyes. Like, yeah, this, he's got some really good ideas, and obviously did an amazing job with God of War 2018. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Burkoff, let's get back to your list of 1,000 directors for 1,000 things.
I'll throw one more out there because the last one's kind of a throwaway anyway. My second one is Ken Levine. Obviously Bioshock Infinite.
Isn't it Levine?
I think it's Levine. I don't think it's Levine.
I've only ever heard Levine, unless this is like a Ken Akina situation where
yeah,
like PlayStation itself introduced him and mispronounced his name.
Yeah, maybe it is Levine, actually.
Levine or Levine?
Levine. Sorry, Levine. I think it's Levine.
But yeah, I think he would be great to do some type of a crime noir with a psychological or psychedelic element to it.
Yes,
you don't want him to do a Bioshock movie?
Well, I mean, I don't think that you need to do a Bioshock movie. I think that you could do a movie that has similar elements. But I always feel like there's parts of Bioshock as a game that don't really fit with the rest of or like not stuff that wouldn't really fit in with a movie. So there's the elements of bring us the girl, pay the debt type of stuff in Infinite, which is interesting. But then there's like the skyhook, like that should never be in a movie. Don't put that shit in a movie. That's totally just a game mechanic.
There are ideas in especially Bioshock Infinite over Bioshock proper, where what you're doing in the game does just not mesh well with the story they're trying to tell. But it's like they had to put gameplay in there, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. But yeah, like everyone loves like the first 15 minutes of Bioshock Infinite. Once you get past that, once you put the gun in your hand and it becomes a game, a lot of people, and this is like, years later, because like IGN gave it a 10 out of 10 in that. They're like, this game actually has a lot of issues, but the initial idea is fucking solid, and those first 15 minutes are really, really good.
What's Berghoff, when you're saying noir, are you thinking modern, or are you thinking like a certain time, a certain like decade that you want that to happen?
Well, I mean, there's like, so when I say noir, I think of like, oh, you see, she was a dame that walked into the,
So like the 50s, 60s type noir.
Yeah, the Maltese, China, 30s, even Chinatown's a more modern version of that, but the Maltese Falcon is a really good kind of noir piece with, what's his name? Humphrey Bogart. It's a classic.
Yeah, like the 30s.
Even Dark City is good.
True.
All right, and what is your throwaway?
Jordan Mechner. So he was the guy that was the lead programmer and designer on Prince of Persia, but he also wrote the screenplay for the Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Oh no!
Did he?
Oh no!
That's my understanding. He was credited as a screenwriter, so I believe that he wrote like the first one of the first drafts or whatever for the movie.
I mean,
maybe his ideas got scrapped. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
here's the tricky part: is like you get accreditation if you wrote most of the script, but like easily someone could write a bunch more and totally f up the entire script.
Possibly, yeah. Like I don't know. That's why it's my throwaway. It was sort of it was one of those. It was like a weird. When I was doing research for this episode, I was like, "That's a weird crossover." Like he actually worked on the original game. And the screenplay or did some script writing for this horrible fucking movie that came out.
Wait, sorry, the original game, or you're talking about the Sands of Time game?
No, the original back in the 80s.
Oh, that's pretty wild.
Okay,
like,
then I'm not surprised how bad it was.
Yeah. But I'm just, it's.
If you were telling me it was
crazy.
from someone from the Sands of Time team that did it, I was like, that's where I was disappointed, being like, how could you? Sands of Time was actually decent, and then doing the movie, it just was horrendous.
Yeah.
There's some, if he worked on it, I bet you any money like Suits got involved in that, and they
totally.
just made
of course,
it. They like plus, they tore his script to pieces. Yeah,
the mouse is involved. It ruins everything.
And this was someone else on YouTube had said this, but it's like, if you want your twist to be like the guy that you're supposed to trust betrays you, don't cast Ben Kingsley. It's like super obvious that he's the bad guy. But whatever. Like maybe they didn't care. But yeah, it's Jake Gyllenhaal is the Prince of Persia. Like, come on, he is. Jake Gyllenhaal is a really really good actor. And
yeah, have you seen Nightcrawler? He's phenomenal.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
He
is so good in that movie.
Have you seen Nightcrawler, Matt?
No. The only thing I'm thinking of is
so good. So
Donnie Darko.
No,
Donnie Darko, yeah.
So
he's gone. He's come a long way since Donnie Darko.
So Nightcrawler is he plays a person that finds out about the TV news industry in regards to like independent companies like taking out their own cameras and like filming accidents and murders and things like that.
Like for the nightly news.
Nightly news, and then sells it to them. So he learns about the business from like being independent, and then it's like how far will he go to be able to like make it. And it takes some twists and turns you will not expect. It's so good. It's one of my favorite films from him, hands down. Like he's really good in it. And who's the other actor that's with him?
His sidekick.
Yeah,
I've seen him in a lot
I've
of
seen
stuff.
him in a lot of stuff recently, and I forgot his name now.
It's been a while since I've seen Nightcrawler that I don't remember. I believe he's a
Indian descent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up right now so I don't forget.
Yeah. What is it with video game movies?
Riz Ahmed. Yes, because he was in Venom. He was the
being
villain.
So terrible that actors like Jake Gyllenhaal from what movie?
He was in Venom. He was the villain.
Oh yes. There you go. Yeah. They got, what is it with video game adaptations and making really really good actors like look like absolute shit? You got Jake Gyllenhaal in Prince of Persia, and you have Michael Fassbender in Assassin's Creed.
Oh god!
Right.
Like if anything, like those movies should be good considering the talent.
Just based on who's building it. Yeah.
You know what?
Actually,
because there's a bunch of unknowns in Mortal Kombat, that's why the movie's going to be great.
I was listening to the Game Informer podcast where Brian McShay, I believe, saw the first 15 minutes, and he interviewed the team where they had a bunch of caveats if they were going to make a new Mortal Kombat, and they said no known actors. We don't want to take away from the film itself. We want to keep it like, you know what? That is a great caveat to have. Just, you know, you get Tom Cruise in a movie, not saying he would be in Mortal Kombat, but it's like, it's Tom Cruise. It's always Tom Cruise.
Well, and he could change the franchise. So, like the example is, so technically when Universal came out with their monster universe that they were trying to do, their dark universe.
Right, yeah. Russell Crowe
Tom Cruise technically was not supposed to end up, if you've never seen the movie, Tom Cruise ends up being the Mummy in The Mummy. He was not supposed to be it originally in the original script, but Tom Cruise pushed for it so hard. And so the girl that was supposed to play the Mummy throughout the entire franchise. It was supposed to be her. And then not only that, he also changed a lot of things. Basically,
I'm the Mummy.
And then also the other thing was he changed the movie entirely and made it into one of his and did very much a big effort to try to turn it into like a Mission Impossible type film. That's why there's so many running scenes in it. And originally that's not what was supposed to happen. But Tom Cruise got involved, and then they adjusted it for Tom Cruise. Yeah. Jesus Christ, yeah. He doesn't need to go on that daily run. He does enough in his movies.
Yeah, as much as Sean Bean dies in films, Tom Cruise sprints in his movies. I did not know that he kind of stepped in there and changed their whole, I guess it was Universal monster like cinematic universe.
Yeah, it kind of was more of like they hired Tom Cruise, so that's what you're going to get. Like that's basically like, you hired me, this is what I'm good at. Do this.
Yeah, I'm Tom Cruise. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah, whatever happened to fucking Cocktail and Days of Thunder?
Oh man, yeah, the classics. Yeah.
Well, Burkoff, you get your Maverick, your Top Gun Maverick coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like Top Gun, so.
I've got a couple fun ones. If you guys want to
shoot.
So these are collaborations.
Okay.
Ooh, collaborations.
What do you mean by that?
A director from the video game world and a director from the movie world.
combining together to
combined
unite.
Okay,
together to
I
do a
like this.
project.
I like this.
My first one is Martin Scorsese and Todd Howard.
Oh my god!
It's a
What do they make?
mob.
Well,
It's a mob.
guess what?
Open world RPG.
Guess what? Nothing will get done. It will never come out because you know why? Tom Howard's in charge.
But
like
no, like think about like if the Departed was a world that you could explore as your own character.
Like you go into the mob as a mole, and you have to like work your way in, and like time's not on your side, and you got to be really really careful. But there's a mole in the it's totally like basically the plot of
Departed, yeah.
or the story of the Departed, but in kind of like like that'd be so cool. Like what you say, you know, the scene where what's his name? Jack Nicholson. You know that guy Jack Nicholson? What's his name? He's sitting with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's murdered several of his crew because he's losing it because he's trying to find this mole, and he's like, I got a rat, and he's like drawing rats on the paper over like the Italian the table, and Leonardo DiCaprio convinces him it's not him. Like imagine if that was a scene in the game where you had to do a dialogue check.
Pick the right dialogue.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or do a persuasion check. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be great.
All right, what's your next one?
Yeah. David Fincher and David Cage.
Just because they both have David in their name?
No, because David Cage wants to do film basically, but I don't think he could do it on his own. And David Fincher
needs someone to help him. Someone as good as David Fincher.
Exactly.
Okay.
Dude, now that you said you're thinking David, I'm thinking Fincher Cage is a pretty good name for a character in a movie. Like Jack Reacher. If you're talking like that level of kind of...
Here I was thinking the title was going to be David.
Just fuck it, David.
Yeah, fuck it, David.
And the character, my name is Fincher Cage.
Or you could just call me David.
David. His alias is David. All right, yeah. Some fun stuff.
What's your last one?
That's it. That's all I got.
You've been doing these in threes.
I just had two though for that one, for the collaborations.
Burkhoff, I'm extremely disappointed in you.
That I don't have a third one?
You don't have a third one. You went away from the rule of three. And I was really harsh on you about it, and I'm going to be even harsher because you messed up the rule of three. That's the best thing to know in filmmaking. It always is the rule of three. You tell the audience in three different ways the same exact thing.
Kevin Smith and somebody else. Give me a game director.
No, that's up to you.
I think we named them all. Do we have any left? We went down the entire checklist.
How about Jade Raymond?
Jade Raymond and Kevin Smith do a video game or a movie together.
Wow.
Well, I just said Jade because then Matt can finally play her game. Not this Matt, the other Matt.
No, like
who doesn't listen to this podcast, so he'll never know I said that.
Okay, Jade Raymond directs a film and it never gets released. That's what would happen there.
The studio will go under during filming. Like
three studios go. Three studios go under, and then finally she gets to make her film like 10 years after she decides to get into the industry.
How fucked is that? Seriously,
it's so it's like a disappointment one after the other.
Well, hopefully Haven is a haven, but
All right. Well, on that bombshell.
No, you can't. No, you can't just do that. No, you can't just do that. We have housekeeping to do.
What's housekeeping?
Right.
Well, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. That's number one. Number two, you should like and subscribe to all the different services we have available, which is Twitter, which is pixel_pints. There is Instagram, that's Pixel Pints Pod. Twitter is mainly for video games. Instagram's for the beer. They are a happy marriage between the two. And now Dan's trying to get on this call as soon as I'm trying to end the podcast, which is super hilarious. And I'm not letting him on.
After hours.
I'm just not going to let him on until after hours. So then...
by the way, this Enter Night Pilsner, this Metallica collaboration...
Please tell me it's horrible.
if someone
As
if someone
horrible
took
as
a
its
Pilsner,
music.
that's how dare you? If someone took a Pilsner and said, let's add essence of IPA and just put a little bit in there, that's kind of what this tastes like, which is not a bad thing, by the way. It's interesting.
So it's like their music, like, oh, we do rock music with just essence of metal.
Okay.
All right,
Anyways,
we need
At
to end
least
this
everything
podcast.
since
Back to
everything
it.
since the Black Album.
if you want to watch us live, we
Okay.
are on twitch.tv/pixelpints. And if you want to check out the archive, it is on Twitch, but it also is on our YouTube channel, which is just at Pixel Pints on YouTube. Check it out there. Or on any podcast service you use to listen to your podcast, just look up Pixel Pints. We're right there. We're enjoyable. We're happy. Subscribe to it. Like it. Share it with the friends. You know, if you're a beer person, recommend a beer to us on the comment section. Maybe we'll try it if you're nice to us. You know, if you're mean, we're not gonna do anything for you because that's just not how the world works. So
Hey asshole, try this beer I recommended. Come on, man. Be a little nicer about that.
now Evan, now you're making me wish I had that ESPN like, come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. So, on that note, oh crap. Okay, on that note,
There it is.
I thought I messed it up. There was like something popped up on my screen. I was like, what is this? I don't know what this is. It's not gonna go right.
Be good.
I like the background this time.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Don't you
Just
like it
the
with like the little camera, for, movie themed? Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, just recording. I like it.